Welcome to Middle Math Academy, Dividing Fractions by Fractions, level number 1. If you're looking for more dividing fractions practice, please make sure to check out level 2, which includes fractions and whole numbers, and levels 3 through 5, which includes fractions, whole numbers, and mixed numbers. Let's get started. Our learning targets today are I can divide fractions by fractions, I can write equivalent multiplication expressions, and I can underline keywords in word problems. Go ahead and rate yourself 1 through 5. How confident do you feel about these learning targets? At the end of the lesson, we'll come back and see how confident you feel after we've gotten some practice in. Let's go ahead and take a look at our notes. As a reminder, this video isn't going to go over every single problem, so please make sure that you're keeping up with the notes, you're writing down what I write down, and you're following with the examples. That way, when you're doing independent practice, you'll feel confident. Our first note is the quotient is the answer to a division problem. Quotient is a key vocabulary word that you really need to memorize. Answer to a division problem. And then speaking of keywords, identifying keywords can help us write division expressions from word problems. So let's go ahead and talk about some keywords for the first number in our division expression. If you see the keyword total, that's an indicator that that'll represent the first number in our division expression. So go ahead and write total. Split is a key word for dividing. And then we have a lot of keywords for the second number in our division expression. We have slice. Remember, you can always pause the video if you need more time. Portion, each, every, serving, piece, and batch. So if you see any of these keywords in a word problem, when you're setting up your division expression, that'll be the second number or the divisor in our division expression. So let's get to how do you divide fractions? So if you remember nothing else from today, remember that you keep the first number. Okay, so we're not going to do anything with 1/4. We're just going to keep it. I want you to write 1/4 right beneath where it is in example 1. Keep the first number. Next step, multiply. So we're going to change our division symbol to multiplication. So underneath our division symbol, you can go ahead and put a dot to show multiplication. You can also do an X if you like that better, but I'm going to practice using a dot. And then our last step is we're going to flip the second number. So this 2/3 is going to become 3/2. Make sure you have this down. You might also hear people say keep, change, flip. I like keep, multiply, flip just because it's specific about what you're changing it to. But if keep, change, flip is easier, feel free to do that. Now that we kept our first number, multiplied, flipped our second number, we're just going to multiply across. 1 times 3 is 3, and 4 times 2 is 8. So now we'll circle our quotient, 3/8. And I also want you to write the word quotient underneath, just because sometimes writing down things helps our brain remember it. So I want you to remember that the answer to our division problem is the quotient. Now what you're going to do is pause the video and complete examples 2 and 3 on your own. Once you finish both these examples, come back to the video to check your work. For example 2, you should have kept the first number, multiplied, and you do need to write the multiplication expression, and flip the second number. And 1/6 times 5/4 is 5/24, which is our quotient. Check your work, fix any errors. It's okay if you didn't get it wrong yet or correct yet, and it's okay if you're still not sure. We're going to keep practicing, so just don't give up. Let's check over our work for example 3. For example 3, you should have kept the first number, multiplied, and flipped our second number. 2/3 times 5/1 is 10/3. Another way to write 10/3 is as a mixed number, 3 and 1/3, but you can also just leave it as 10/3 for now. All right, so we've divided fractions by fractions. Now we're going to practice dividing fractions in word problems. So we're going to use our keywords up here to help us on examples 3 and 4. 4 and 5. All right, let's take a look at example number 4. The directions say underline keywords, write the division expression and equivalent multiplication expression. Circle the quotient. Example 4 says, a baker is making cupcakes. She has a total of 1/2 pound of flour. Each batch requires 1/8 pound of flour. How many batches can the baker make? I want you to look up at your notes and underline any keywords you see. Come back to the video once you're done underlining. So here are our keywords that we wrote down in our notes. One of the keywords that you should have underlined is total. And I can see total goes with 1/2. So when I write my division expression, 1/2 will be my first number. And I'm going to write divided by. And then we have some other keywords too. We have each, batch. Okay, and then we also have batches. All right, and then each and batch, those are words that tell us that'll be our second number in our division expression. So we can write 1/8 here. And the reason why this matters is because your answer for 1/2 divided by 1/8 is different from 1/8 divided by 1/2. So you have to set this division expression up correctly. Now that we've written our division expression, we're going to do what we do with dividing fractions. We're going to keep our first number, 1/2. Then we're going to multiply. So we change our division symbol to multiplication. And then we're going to flip our second number. So 1/8 is going to become 8/1. Once you've kept, multiplied, and flipped, then we just multiply straight across. 1 times 8 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. Now, if you get an answer like this, 8/2, the fraction line means divided. Okay, so this is really 8 divided by 2. And 8/2 is the same thing as 4. So we can just circle our quotient. 8/2 is the same thing as 4. I want you to practice all of example 5 and then come back to the video to check your work. For example 5, you should have underlined total, which goes with 1/4. That tells us 1/4 will be the first number in our division expression. You also should have underlined each, a keyword to tell us the second number in our division expression, which is 1/12. And then we'll do what we do with dividing fractions. We will keep the first number, multiply, and flip our second number. 1/12 becomes 12/1. And then we just multiply across. 1 times 12 is 12. 4 times 1 is 4. And then remember, we can always divide 12 divided by 4, which is 3. Because our question was originally asking, how many hours can Liz mow? Well, 12 forced hours really isn't the best answer. but since 12 divided by 4 is 3, we can say Liz mowed 3 hours before she ran out of gas. And then we'll just circle our quotient. Once you have this down, go ahead and flip to page 2. Okay, on page 2, we're going to write equivalent multiplication expressions, and then we'll write and circle the quotient here. So I'll just do a quick example with you. You can practice one on your own, and then you're going to get a lot of independent practice after this. So 1/4 divided by 6/8. The equivalent multiplication expression, I'm going to keep my first number, 1/4. Then I'm going to multiply. Then I'm going to flip my second number, 6/8 will become 8/6. Okay, and so you're not going to write your answer here, you're going to write it over here. 1 times 8 is 8. 4 times 6 is 24. And so your quotient is 8/24. Now, if your teacher wants you to simplify, you can. I can divide 8 by 8 and 24 by 8 and get 1/3. If you'd rather just keep it as 8/24, that also works. Go ahead and complete just B, then come back to the video just to check your work. Let's go ahead and check your work for B. You should have kept 1/2, multiplied, and flipped 2/3 to become 3/2. When you multiply across, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 2 is 4. 3/4 is our quotient. Okay, so here's where the independent practice comes into play. You're going to pause the video, complete all of page 2 and page 3. Come back to the video when you're ready for page 4. Okay, let's take a look at page 4. On page 4, the first thing you're going to do is underline keywords. So let's go ahead and do that together. I'm going to complete A with you, and then I'll have you complete the rest of page 4 on your own. A says, a teapot is 1/2 full of tea. A serving of tea is 1/6 of the teapot. How many servings are available? Okay, so if we look up here, we can see our keywords. I know serving is a keyword for the second number in our division expression. So I'm going to underline serving, and it says a serving is 1/6. So when we write the division expression, I'm going to write divided by 1/6 since that went with serving. And then even though it doesn't say the word total, I know that the amount of tea we have, the total amount is 1/2. It's half full of tea. So that'll be our first number. So in this middle column, you're just writing your division expression. So we underlined keywords, we wrote our division expression. Now we'll write our multiplication expression and circle the quotient. So we're going to keep the first number, 1/2. Then we're going to multiply. Then we'll flip 1/6 so it becomes 6/1. And then to find our quotient, we're just going to multiply straight across. 1 times 6 is 6. 2 times 1 is 2. And then we can divide these because it says how many servings are available. It doesn't really make sense to say there are 6 half servings. So if we just divide this, 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we're going to take our answer and then just answer our question over here. We're going to write there are 3 servings available. Writing our answers in complete sentences can help us determine if our answer is reasonable. So make sure to write this in. So what you're going to do now is pause the video, complete the rest of page 4, and come back to the video when you're ready for page 5. Let's take a look at page 5. I'm not going to go I'm not going to go over all of these problems, but I do want to go over problem E. So go ahead and take a look there. E says blank divided by 1/3 equals 9/10. So I'm going to do E with you and have you do F on your own. So if we're looking for our first number, remember we're going to keep our first number. So with your pencil, I want you to go ahead and change our division symbol. Go ahead and change it to a multiplication symbol. And then let's take 1/3 and let's just write over it. Let's flip it. 1/3 will become 3/1. So now we just changed our division problem to our equivalent multiplication expression. So now we can think to ourselves, what times 3 is 9? Well, I know 3 times 3 is 9. And what times 1 is 10? Well, I know 10 times 1 is 10. So 3/10 is our first number because when we keep, multiply, flip, our expression is true. Go ahead and complete F on your own. Let's take a look at G. I'll complete G with you and then have you complete H on your own. G says, which expression is equivalent to 1/3 divided by 4/5? Well, we know we're going to keep our first number, then we're going to multiply, and then we're going to flip 4/5 to become 5/4. So this is the answer I'm looking for. Oh, and I can see that answer is right here, B. Now it says circle the equivalent multiplication expression, then find the quotient. Okay, so we're not done yet. Now we can multiply across. 1 times 5 is 5, and 3 times 4 is 12. 5/12 is our quotient. Pause the video, complete the rest of page 5, and come back to the video when you're ready for page 6. Let's take a look at page 6. Page 6 says, Kristen and William each solved the problem below. Who solved the problem correctly? Explain the mistake the incorrect person made. Go ahead and complete the common misconception problem and the closing problem. The closing problem's right beneath it. Once you finish both problems, come back to the video to check your work. All right, so for our common misconception problem, Kristen solved the problem correctly. William incorrectly flipped the first number. So remember, we always keep the first number, multiply, flip the second number. This video isn't going to go over our closing problem, but I want you to take a look at the bottom of our page where it says debrief. Take a look at the bottom of page 6. You'll see 3 debrief questions. In your own words, what did you learn today? How much effort did you put in during class? Rate yourself 1 through 5. What do you think is a common misconception or a common mistake a student might make when dividing fractions? So what you're going to do is you're going to answer those 3 debrief questions. Once you're finished with that, you're going to flip back to page 1. At the beginning of the lesson, we rated ourselves 1 through 5, how we felt about our learning targets. Now you're going to rate yourself after the lesson. So reread our learning targets and rate yourself 1, the least amount of confidence, 5, the most amount of confidence. Thank you again for joining us today at Middle Math Academy, Dividing Fractions by Fractions, Level 1. If you're looking for any additional practice with dividing fractions, we have level number 2, which is dividing fractions in whole numbers, and levels 3 through 5, which include fractions, whole numbers, and mixed numbers. Once again, we really appreciate you joining us and have a wonderful day.